Hi, this is John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And you're watching the horror show.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
Back with another horror comic book review, you guys, but this one is an interesting one. This time we are doing Bubba Ho-Tep and the Cosmic Bloodsuckers. Now, this is technically a prequel to the movie that came out not too long ago, starring one of our favorites, of course, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
And
so Mad Monster in February.
Indeed, and then in Texas Frightmare, and which hopefully we'll be able to do as well. We'll see what's going on there, but
the biggies.
But nonetheless, guys, we got all 5 issues of this complete limited series, and we are going to go ahead and talk about it. We'll try not spoil things overly, but we'll talk about some stuff. I'll show you some artwork, and you guys can make a decision whether or not you want to get it. So let's do it like I normally do it. We'll talk about sort of our overall thoughts, and then we'll get into the story, and I'll let you take the reins from there, sir.
I just read it last night.
Yeah, I just read it last night. I read it like 2 weeks ago. So let's do this thing. Overall, I will say that while I enjoyed it, it didn't really knock my socks off.
No, me neither.
I did have a good time with it. It's definitely better than a lot of the horror comic adaptation, or yeah, I mean just horror comic properties, actual branded comics. You know, it's in the higher tier of those.
Yes,
and it is fun to read, but the whole story in and of itself was just kind of. It was okay.
It was definitely okay. You know, I mean, I love revisiting the fact that Elvis was a more cognizant at one point in time boo hunter or whatever the hell he was called. It was like boo baddies or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this is taking place obviously as a prequel. Nixon is in office, and you know, you find out that his manager is involved, the colonel, at one particular point. But yeah, overall, I didn't absolutely love it, but I quite like the artwork through 4 issues. Yeah, some of the storytelling is a little on the psychedelic side. You know, taking place in the 70s. Nixon is in office.
It's a very colorful book.
Yes, very much so. At least throughout the first 4 issues. It's the scripting is just okay at times, but these centralized ideas from what's the author's name? Joe R. Lansdale, I want to say.
The original story was by him, the original novel, and but the writer of this book, adapted by Joshua. Is it Jabkuga?
Jabkuga.
Yeah,
let's just
giving it our best try.
Yeah, but I mean, fun to revisit Elvis actually, you know, fighting creatures of the night. And this one gets a little Lovecraft with some of the crazies jumping from other dimensions.
I liked a lot of that stuff for sure.
That was the best aspects of the storytelling for me. So there was a lot of awesome ideas on display. I'm actually really excited to check out the novel proper or novella proper, because I know it's not like super lengthy, and just get some expanded ideas about Elvis before doing this little switcheroo, which is when this takes place. You know, this takes place before he switches with his imposter, which we see detailed in the feature film. So yeah, liked it a lot. I think I liked it more than you, but I didn't love it. I wouldn't go as far as saying that. So.
Yeah, and actually, you reminded me that particular aspect, the imposter thing, which gets addressed towards the end of the book, and which I was like, oh, that's not what I expected. I kind of liked that, actually.
Yeah, you see some justification as to why it happened, which is interesting. So, I mean, story-wise, if we're going to launch into that now, early 70s, Elvis is already, you know, the hair is graying, he's getting fat, all that stuff, and I guess his manager, the Colonel, is in cahoots with Nixon, and Nixon's administration and the corresponding government at the time is just perusing through everything that they can constantly, whether it's newspapers, whether it's magazines, whether it's works of popular entertainment like feature films. And there's this one woman who just had some sort of eye operation, and she's got these particular glasses on because she's averse to bright lights at the time, and she's doing her homework. She's sitting there watching this older Elvis movie, and all of a sudden she sees what appears to be a vampire in this movie, and it leads them to believe, okay, with the right perceptiveness, or I guess lack of vision in this case, you can see monsters that are not there to the perceptive eye, almost like they live kind of status sort of thing. And yeah, so they realize that there is something big coming. There's this big mama, as they call her, and she is trying to bust through at this old film set where Elvis filmed that particular feature, and it does jump into Lovecraft ideas, and that there's thin patches, and what starts out as just a little crack, if people are taking, whether it's shamans, whether it's, in this case, the reason I loved issue 2 so much is because there's like this Project Blue kind of thing where they talk about, which is very popular in Stephen King storytelling and various other 60s and 70s stuff, where they're trying to turn humans into like these mental just weapons by giving them psychedelic drugs. And yeah, it's like if you have a tiny crack, but you have people who have the force to start chipping away through these drugs, the cracks can get bigger, and then larger, crazier creatures can make their way through. And that's kind of why the Colonel has to bring on Elvis, and at the behest of Nixon, assemble a team to go after the, what could be like an apocalypse sort of scenario. And that's about as much as we can spoil without going too deep.
Well, there's a couple of little fun things. I mean, the fact that their home base is this haunted mansion, and their price for staying is very funny.
Yeah, what Elvis has to do is amusing.
And in line with the character, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But here's a little bit of an example of some of the psychedelic stuff that he was talking about.
Yeah, so they basically, there's one member of this team who is blind, but yet he's almost like got the pry your third eye open sort of thing. He's almost like borderline shaman. There's another like badass, like, I guess you would say borderline blaxploitation kind of dude.
Yeah.
But
he's John
like
Henry.
He's
and he's holding a big hammer with
big
ass hammer, because John Henry, the Iron Striking Man or whatever it's called. Same thing that John Henry Irons in the Superman comics was based on, actually. Sticking with the comic theme here.
Indeed. And then you've got Elvis's bodyguard as a part of the team, although Elvis can pretty much take care of himself, which they make pretty plain and clear initially.
It's a great shot of the Colonel right there, just so you see how they do it.
And the Colonel starts out as really manipulative, but you do eventually realize that he has kind of a heart and a soft spot for Elvis, even if he's trying to give like stern instruction and like, hey, Nixon needs us to get this shizzle done, let's get to it. And then there's another girl whose career the Colonel has tried to foster, who's much younger than Elvis, and Elvis kind of has a thing for her right off the bat because she's also a singer, and she's trying to make her name known. But another interesting idea that I thought that they put in this book, and this presumably goes back to Lansdale's original written work, is that
some of the monsters are cool, but I can't show them because they'd get us hit. Because there's some nudity in this book.
There's a decent amount of nudity.
Just a quick glimpse. This isn't nudity we'll get hit for, but this is a really badass moment.
Yeah. This is an R-rated comic book for sure. It definitely is. So it holds in line with that quality from the original film, and from it was a 1994 Elvis novella that Lansdale did. Yeah, there's some funny bits in there. The one idea that I was about to mention here a moment ago, though,
he's very much the king.
Yep. There you go. Just very, very closely covered there.
Yep.
But they have this idea put forth in the book where a person with significant just persona and personality and a larger than life like energy is what these crazed creatures from other dimensions want to come and feed upon, because it gives them more strength than just chomping up the average person. They're drawn to them. It's what they seek out for their consumption, and Elvis obviously has it. This other girl who's part of the team has it, and I liked a lot of the ideas in this book, but by issue 3 it really just goes to action. And the first 2 issues that took me about 15-20 minutes each to read, I was just breezing through the panels and like, oh, it's beautiful artwork, but there wasn't a lot said. And that happens with a lot of comics, obviously. It's just, here's the fight, and the fight's badass, and the creatures look really cool. But the back half of the storytelling here is just all fighting. There's one character, without spoiling anything, who is lost like midway through, and they kind of try to make it a thing, but it doesn't really have much impact. And I will also say I did not like the finale fight of sorts. How they try to go about it. I thought it was a little underwhelming. It was, and this is where I wish I could spoil it, because it immediately made me think of a video game reference that I can't put forth here. But as a whole, I love, Lovecraft, and King continued it, and so many other people, Joe Hill, various others, are all about this, what can breach through, and how humans can very foolishly make the gateways larger so worse stuff can make its way. And that was when I thought the book was the strongest. I loved issue 2 the best. Issue 1 was also really good, and just revisiting Elvis and seeing how involved he was in this monster fighting process before yeah, before getting even older and stepping away from singing. So
now let me offer sort of a counter argument, not a counter argument, but
your thoughts,
counterpoint of view. I was more into the monster fighting in the back half of the book.
Oh, were you?
In issues 3 and 4 specifically, yes. Yeah. I actually really liked that. That's where I was getting all the creature, the creature porn, not literally porn with creatures but creature porn, like torture porn, like gore porn, you know what I mean? Like lots of creatures doing cool stuff, fighting humans in different ways. I really enjoyed that stuff. I showed a little bit of it. I don't want to spoil a lot of the pages. And by the way, we should also shout out the artist for the first 4 issues, and then we'll talk about a switch that happened. But the first artist here is Tad Galusha.
He did the first 4 issues, and the artwork is awesome.
Fantastic. The colorist is Ryan Hill, and the letterer was Tom B. Long. So
Tom DeLong, not to be confused with Tom DeLong.
But yeah, Tad's artwork is quite fun and consistent, and it does elevate the story.
It elevates the storytelling big time, man.
So let me quickly show you guys the first 4 issues, the covers up close. I always show the covers up close for you guys.
They're
so
all fun.
Issue number 1 right there.
He's got that gut going.
Indeed.
Stuff out.
The problem is he's not really at that point yet in the book.
Starting to get there. You can kind of see the pudge going a little bit.
I actually really like this cover a lot.
That cover's dope too.
It's very indicative of the size of the creatures that he ends up fighting towards the end. The 3rd issue right here, when we start to get some of the psychedelia.
Yeah, so those little blue pills are what the team basically experiments with them so they can try to attain some perspective about how to combat these creatures. They're like, oh, let's all go out and have the equivalent of a peyote bonding, scenario.
Yep.
And it helps. It does, without spoiling anything.
And then issue 4 is this one right here. It's indicative of something. Yeah, we won't ruin what that's about, but it's a good cover nonetheless. And you know what? I didn't even check to see if the covers were done by the same artist.
There are different covers.
Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah. So there's different covers. Yeah. So all these covers are
like actually one cover of a singular issue is the cover of the, I believe it's Subterranean Press, the novella or novel that I just ordered this past week because I'm going to read the source material on this. And I guess the original author who the comic was based on here, he's done a bunch
Joe R. Lansdale.
Yeah, he's done a ton of these different Elvis alternate universe stories. And
this is issue 5.
I want to go back and read the 1994 novella that the original movie is based off of. It's alternate history, timeline, fantasy horror type stuff. So it's cool in my opinion.
Now, here's one of the issues. Yeah. I felt like the story was almost complete in the first 4 issues. And then this 5th issue came along, and I'm like, yeah, there are some things that they're tying up for sure, but with the dramatic shift in art, the new artist is brought in, Horatio Dominguez, and if you guys want to see just the dramatic shift, I mean, here's just a little example. Yeah. It's
just a different style.
It's a style that works for some things. But when you set up such a drastically different style for the first 4 issues, when you do this, it makes it feel like an epilogue. I mean, it's just people sort of talking and wrapping up things, post events and whatnot.
In a lot of ways, as anticlimactic as the last little beat that goes down.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they do have to wrap up sort of the story.
Rainbow Road from Mario Kart.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff still. Yeah.
The end.
It's just it's such a dramatic shift in art. It just made it feel a little weird.
Yeah, it made it feel a little.
But the end is again where we get the explanation for sort of the Elvis imposter switch thing, and I actually really like that.
I did too. That was cool. Just kind of connective tissue, I guess, with this and the original
film.
film.
A little bit of the action, so that way people can see.
Do it. But yeah, once again, man, as a whole, I quite liked it. I found it humorous. Some people criticized it as being more so about Elvis's hard-ons and just like silly humor and stuff as opposed to. But did Bubba Ho-Tep really take itself that insanely seriously?
No.
I don't think this property really does. And so to be critical of that, I mean, this
doesn't
is
make a lot of sense. It's
Not
in
at all.
line with the feel.
Yeah, exactly. The silliness that you would get from like a Phantasm 2 or an Army of Darkness or something like that. It's the same sensibilities here.
So if it
I
sounds
still
good
liked
to
it.
you guys, then I highly recommend getting your hands on it. I imagine there's going to be a trade available very soon, if it's not already, because this just wrapped up like last month, or even this month actually, at the beginning of this month. So why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below? Does this tickle your fancy? Does it look interesting to you? I will say it does help to read all of Elvis's lines in the Bruce Campbell Elvis style.
I was just envisioning the Elvis voice in some capacity as I was reading.
Yeah, it helps for sure. It makes it more fun. Yeah,
Much more fun.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you gonna go grab yourself a copy? I want to know if we're helping to spread the love, you guys. So let us know. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias to all our patrons. I've been Jaime and Fuego.
That's right. If you guys want to support us directly, you can click that Patreon link down below, and you can support the channel monetarily, but at the same time, you can also get things for it, like requesting reviews, requesting commentaries, anything along those lines. We have different tiers, so check that out. If you're unable to support us directly monetarily, you can always support us just by clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel and coming back and watching all the videos that we put out for you guys. So thanks very much. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.